All right, Kevin back with you for another episode of the $1 Million Relationships Podcast. And today I am here with Jack Turk. Jack, welcome. So awesome to have you on the show.
Oh, it's absolutely my pleasure. It's a great gift for you to allow me to be part of your audience, to share with your audience, and be part of your adventure. I really appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. I feel the same way. You and I, we had the privilege recently. We got to meet through our mutual friend Brian Kurtz.
Yep.
And you, of course, you're in Brian's Titans Accelerator group, and
Hmm.
and uh, and I've known Brian. Oh my gosh, I first met Brian probably back in '97 or '98 when he spoke at one of Joe Polish's events for the cleaning and restoration industry when I used to own a cleaning and restoration
Oh,
company.
goodness.
So
Goodness.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying, oh goodness,
Yeah.
that's a long time ago. And Brian and I, have been friends for many years. And in fact, the very first connection that I ever made, which was 12 years ago, the one that really got me going, wow, wouldn't it be cool if I could do more of that? It was for Brian Kurtz and Perry Marshall.
Oh,
And
geez.
I had connected those two guys, and about 10 months later, they were hosting this event together called the Titans of Direct Response. And and of course, since then they have gone on to do so many amazing things together. But it was them hosting that event that got me thinking, wouldn't it be cool if you could have a business where you got to do that all the time, where you got to just facilitate relationships like that. And it took a little time for that seed to germinate, but here we are now. That's been my full-time gig for 7 years now, is doing
Awesome.
that. And I consider myself so blessed to just be able to get to work with and serve and just be that conduit of trust for just amazing entrepreneurs like Brian. And of course, you and I meeting through Brian. I mean, and of course, coming to get to know you and find out that, like, wow, you and I, we both have a lot of appreciation and respect for Brian. And of course, what better way to make new friends, to create new relationships than through the people that we already have such appreciation and respect for. And it's just a beautiful thing.
Yeah. No kidding.
So,
Yeah, yeah. Well, you're the average of the five people you hang out with.
for
So
sure.
hanging out with great people who also know great people, you know, I've met so many amazing folks over the years
Yeah.
uh, through this, through my connections via, Brian and how I got to meet Brian and everything else. So
Yeah,
I'm
for sure.
it's fantastic.
Well, we'll dig into this a little bit, and I'm really stoked to do this interview and have this conversation with you, Jack. So why don't we start? I want to just turn it over to you so that we can set a little bit of context and let the listeners know a little bit about who you are, Jack, and what you're all about. So why don't you share with us? Talk a little bit about what you do, who you serve, what inspires you most about the work you do, and the impact that you're making in the world. Let's start there, Jack.
I have kind of wound up in a place where I tend to serve thought leaders,
Okay.
thought leaders in the Planet Dan universe.
Uh huh.
People who are experts in one area or another. Perhaps it's um, serving dentists, the dental industry, serving IT providers, um, just a number of different niches within the Planet Dan universe. I have over and over managed to wind up providing value to them as a copywriter, as a marketing consultant, because I understand a lot about marketing. I learned from the best, to be honest. And also, more recently, in the development of honestly chatbots and developing AI tools for people,
Okay.
long form prompt sequences, and actually building specific bots for specific purposes. I've even building some. I built my own Jack bot, for example, so I can help myself write faster. And it's I'm still playing with that a little bit, but I'm in the process of building bots to capture people's voices.
Okay.
An
Okay.
extraordinary level of precision.
Wow. Wow. And like in our world, when you reference Planet Dan, I know what that means. And a lot of people in our world know what that means. But some people that might be listeners of this podcast, they might not know the reference to Planet Dan. And
That's
so we should point out
possible,
that
I suppose.
we're talking about Dan Kennedy. Yeah.
I suppose it's possible, but yeah.
So and so and man, you and I, well, when did you, well, I just know I got introduced to Dan through Joe Polish all the way back in, it would have probably been 97, 98 when Dan spoke at Joe's seminar, and then I
Mhm.
invested in magnetic marketing. And then in 99, I attended my first ever Dan Kennedy seminar. And actually, I met Perry Marshall, who we were talking about that I introduced to Brian Kurtz. I met Perry at that Dan Kennedy seminar and stuff.
Oh, okay.
And so, yeah, Dan has definitely had an influence on my life over the years. And in fact, I had invested, him and Ron LeGrand had this product years ago called it was the Speakers and Promoters Boot Camp that they had hosted.
Oh, okay.
And they had a product that all the DVD recordings, and it was actually VHS and DVD, and it was on both. And I don't even remember how much I invested for that. It was probably a couple thousand, but I watched that, and that's how I created my very first ever teleseminar presentation, all the way back in 2003 is when I did
Oh
that.
gosh.
And I used that teleseminar for 12 years. I ran that teleseminar model very successfully,
Mhm.
and so I'm kind of appreciative of Dan and the investment that I made in him.
Oh, good Lord. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Brian Kurtz, who's a giant. Dan was one of the speakers
Yes,
at the Titans
yes,
of direct
yeah,
response event. So they're definitely legends. No question about it.
yeah,
My I heard of Dan kind of a few years later through actually our mutual friend Dave D, was who
yeah.
introduced me.
Well,
And
in fact, I know. So I'm just going to reiterate the question because we're bringing this up. So I know that. So you, I'll just reiterate the question, then I'm going to let you dig into this, and I'm really excited. So, have you ever been introduced to a person or persons that completely changed the course of your life or your business, so much so that much of what you have today would not be possible if not for this person? And so I'm really excited because I love to dig into your story and your experience and be able to give you the opportunity to honor somebody who has had such a profound impact on your life and on your business.
well, without a question, it is Dave D.
Yeah.
It absolutely transformed the course of my life. When I first discovered him in the pages of the Linking Ring magazine, which I still get as a matter of fact, a magazine for magicians.
Wow.
And while I was working at Microsoft, I think I was in the games group at that point in time. I was a writer doing manuals for the games group, and
Okay.
I enjoyed the job. It was a great job. I was getting paid well too. I couldn't complain about it. But I'd always had a yearning for more. I always wanted to work on my own, do my own thing. And I've been a magician since I was a kid. And I did shows now and then through agents and stuff. And then I saw this ad in the back of the magazine, a full page ad saying how to make $100,000 a year as a full-time magician. And that caught my attention because that's about what I was making at that point in time. I was making
Okay.
just over that. And I thought, if I could do that, doing something I really love, and I
Yeah.
love doing magic. I love performing. I mean, no doubt there. I'm a ham. Give me a chance. Worst thing you do is give me a microphone. So you're already, everybody here's in danger. Okay. So, but I love performing, And I saw this ad and it really spoke to me. And so I sent off for that. It was a free report. Oh my God, a
Okay.
free report to tell me how to do this. And of course, we know what a free report is. It
Yes,
was a
we do.
sales letter. And it was
Yeah.
a great sales letter because Dave is an amazing copywriter and an amazing marketer. And he knew how to touch um, the soul and heart of somebody in his own, because Dave's a magician, a wonderful magician, by the way. And I got that letter and it had like a course. I didn't know you get courses. I had no idea. And there was a course on how to make $100,000 a year as a magician. And it was only, what was it, $197? And like back then, I don't know what that is now. Now it's like $5,000. I don't know what it is, but whoever knows, $200 was back in 19, that was probably 2000, 2001, something like that.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
and I got that course and I devoured it. It was all about direct response marketing. And I
Okay.
had never heard of direct response marketing at that point in time. So Dave just sort of opened up this whole new world. Now I had kind of wanted to get into corporate communications at Microsoft because I always thought that was a nice avenue. I grew up, I went to college to be a writer and I had a math minor. So I kind of always did the tech stuff. I can program and all that stuff. And I was like, and I did technical writing for decades. Okay. That's what I was at Microsoft. But I wanted to do something a little more creative, and I thought I could do corporate communications and marketing, and they were not interested in me at all. Just not. I didn't have an MBA, didn't have any of that. If you're at Microsoft, they don't want, forget it.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
then this gave me a chance to write for myself, to learn marketing for myself,
Yeah.
and this was my first intro into that world, and it totally changed my perspective. I started seeing the world in different ways that I had never thought of before. I thought I started becoming much more of an entrepreneur. Before I gotten gigs, it was always through an agency. I get in a gig now. This put me in charge of that. And it just opened my eyes to all the opportunities available through marketing, all the different ways you can make money as a magician. Because it's not just doing shows. There's like selling magic kits. There's selling goodie bags. There's all kinds of add-ons and things to, selling books. And I learned about information marketing. I'd never heard about information marketing. And
Yeah.
Dave opened my eyes to that with by selling me everything in his catalog, basically.
Uh-huh.
I bought
Uh-huh.
everything.
You were a really good client for him.
My LCV was amazing for Dave.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
magicians, that's a terrible market. I mean, let's be honest. They all want to spend. I want to spend money on tricks. I don't want to spend money on marketing advice. That seems silly. But there are some who get it. And so,
Interesting. Yeah, I listened to you share your story, and I know that Dave learned how to do what he did there through Dan Kennedy, and I in 1995 I started a cleaning and restoration company. By 1996, and I had worked as a commercial fisherman in Alaska for 7 years to save up money to start that business.
mhm.
And in the first year, because I had to buy a van and cleaning equipment and supplies, and I was running. I went through about $300,000 in the first year, and I still didn't really know what I was doing. And I didn't know, and I wasn't showing a big profit, very small profit, barely getting by. And that's when I ran across a trade magazine article from Joe Polish,
Mm.
who it spoke to me like Dave spoke to you. And I ordered Joe's free report, and I got that, and I was like, wow, this sounds amazing. I invested in this course, and I want to say it was probably around $700 or $800 to get his marketing course, which I'm sure it taught many similar things to what Dave taught, except for it taught it for the cleaning and restoration industry. And I started, and like you, I became a very good client for Joe Polish because I invested in more of his stuff. I started going to his events. I joined his coaching program. At one point, he was the first guy to come out with a high-end coaching program, which was $12,000 a year at the time he launched it years ago, and I joined that. And it's like, you know, good marketing is good marketing. And Dave worked really well for you in the magic space and helping you do more of what you want to do, just as Joe was such a godsend for me in the cleaning and restoration space and helping me go from this business who was just barely getting by to honestly top 3% of cleaning and restoration companies and earning a really great living from that.
Mhm.
so, and it's really powerful, these relationships in our lives. So I'm curious. So how did this relationship with you and Dave progress? So you invested in his course and you started using that and getting results. So what happened next? How did things progress with you and Dave?
Well, I, I bought the stuff over the, I live in Washington State, and at the time Dave was living in Atlanta. So it was mail order, that kind of thing. And
Yep.
I do the stuff and I try, and I did all the advice, like putting the ads out and like the parent magazines, et cetera. And I was getting great, built the website. I built a great website based on his recommendations for the type of copy, and that worked. I was getting more and more gigs, that I was doing as a side. Again, I was still working at Microsoft full time.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I was full time. So I was just doing shows on weekends, and
Okay.
so I was doing shows on weekends, and occasionally I take a long lunch, that kind of stuff, but that's mostly is that like part time.
Okay.
And I decided, Dave had like his boot camp in Atlanta, so I decided I'm going to go to this. I'd
Okay.
never been to a marketing boot camp before, had no idea what to expect. So I'll share the story of that. So that was
Yeah.
my first introduction to Dave. This is where I first met Dave for the first time. So it's probably he's got the hotel conference room. It's not there's probably maybe 30 to I don't remember, like 30 to 50 people there. They're magicians from
Okay.
all over the country, actually all over the world, all over the place. And he started it off with asking um, where you were from, what kind of magic you did, and like I performed as Turk the Magic Genie, primarily birthday parties and stuff. So that's my character. I have a turban, and should have brought that with it, but I have a turban, whatever. And so went around the room. Oh, well, I'm Joe, and I do trade shows, and I'm Sam, and I do corporate events, and I'm somebody else, and I do like a lot of school assembly programs. They went around the room. They finally got to me and said, "Well, I'm Jack Turk, and I'm a clown." And Dave stopped and said, "Who let an effing clown in here?" And honestly, for he was a little more descriptive than that. But for
Uh-huh.
years, I was known as the effing clown in his
Gotcha.
little universe. That name stuck.
Uh-huh.
And so he definitely got to know me, as an individual, and I went up and talked to him afterwards. And I went to more and more of his meetings. I got into his mastermind, and this is where I really got to know Dave well, and I got to really get a sense of how much he really did care for this market. And a lot of magicians, they just don't care. We have. It's funny what separates yourself is if you get it, and you understand what. There's one magician. I'll just another side story. One magician came, and I don't know if he was a magician actually. He was an entertainer, Dave, and he had a parrot. He had a
Okay.
talking parrot, okay, and this talking parrot was just freaking amazing. He said like this parrot could do, and people love this parrot, and he was describing this act with his parrot, and it was sort of like became a brainstorming session, and the entire room, Dave just started led this. He opened it up for feet, and like people were, Dave was throwing out great ideas. Everybody said, well, you should have the parrot answer the phone, you should have the parrot doing, this parrot should be like, I mean, because the parrot was amazing. And it was like this the parrot, and Dave was just, and Dave, you could just see he was energized. He's like, he's loving this, and this guy was like kind of getting smaller and smaller when we were giving him all these great ideas. And they said, what's wrong? He said, what? Guy said, but I want to be the star. And that's what I mean about some people don't get it, no matter how, you know,
Yeah.
and but when people got it, Dave just poured himself in. He did. And Dave poured himself into me, gave me so much advice, so much support. Um, and what happened was I would show him samples of what I was doing and stuff, and
Mhm.
because I'm in the mastermind, and he started going, Jack, if you're ever interested in like maybe taking a crack at some of the writing, I got more writing that I can do. All the, so I would take a shot at doing some of the stuff for some little side things for Dave, and so we'd go back. If that went on for a while, and then more over time, more and more. Uh, I started doing more stuff for Dave and more
So I
stuff for
get a
him.
question. So so I want to make sure I'm understanding you correctly. So Dave had copywriting jobs that he was getting, and because of the experience that he saw that you had, he thought, oh, maybe you can help me with some of these, and I can turn these over to you. Is that
It was more his own stuff. So it
it
was
was
more
his
like
own stuff?
he just
Okay,
had more opportunities that he had time to take advantage of.
okay,
So and brought me, and since I was in his mastermind and I was doing, I got it. Okay, maybe I'm just kind of giving myself bat of the bat, but like I got it. And I saw what he was up to, and I really, and he was sharp, and I appreciated that. And I basically asked for, hey, if you ever need help with anything, let me know. And so we just kept so back and forth, and we started working together. And we worked
wow,
together, and we started working together, and eventually it was like I kept shoving all the money his way, and eventually he started shoving money my way, which was like fantastic. So, and we just started working together as close partners and friends on a number of projects, and we did this for like, oh gosh, probably 6, 7 years or so. We were doing stuff together, um, until finally when Dave got his job at GKIC, and I just when I quit, between 2000 around 2002 or so, I was doing these magician stuff on the side,
okay,
and I'm working more and more, doing more and more. I was doing more and more shows, and I was also learning information marketing. I tried. I licensed some stuff from Dave, and I tried little experiments in different niches. I actually did a marketing course for guitar teachers, that kind of. So I did that, which I sold. I actually sold one copy of, which is amazing. So I'm not a guitar teacher, but I play guitar, and I kept doing this and showing Dave that I was doing stuff. And in 2006, after talking with Dave, et cetera, uh, I made the arrangement to buy his business to magicians, his
okay,
marketing business. So on 2006, on my birthday, I quit. On my 50th birthday, I quit Microsoft, told my
wow,
boss I was quitting, and left to become a full-time magician and info marketer. So I bought
okay.
Dave's Magic Marketing Center for Magicians, and I became a full-time magician. I just went totally into performing and info marketing. And I did that for basically, and I'm still doing stuff. And I was, again, all this time, I was also doing stuff with Dave between 2006 until 2012 when Dave got a job at GKIC as the head of marketing.
Yep, yep.
He had seen that I'd done so much stuff, and he said, "Would you like to come on board as head copywriter
Wow.
and be the voice of
Wow.
Dan Kennedy?"
Wow.
They gave me a test to see if I could do it, and I actually
Yep.
wrote some stuff in Dan Kennedy's voice because I've been following Dan Kennedy. Once I got past the initial stages of Dave stuff that I started, he explained where his mentor, and he gave credit where credit was due, and then
Yep.
so I followed up on that, and then I got to work with Dave from 2012 to 2015, full time at GKIC as the head copywriter, and that was a wonderful experience. I learned so much. Dave grew during, I know, I could see Dave growing in his skills and his
Yep.
abilities and his wisdom at that point in time, and helping me along, kicked me in the butt when I needed it, beat me across the head when I needed it, encouraged me when I needed it, gave me great feedback, all the time helping, mentoring me. Um, and then I left in 2015. I left to go on my own, and I continue to do stuff on and off with Dave since then. I've always been in contact with Dave since then.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
he actually, when I did my copywriting summit that was launched last February, he was like one of my top tier, speakers. He was like one of the premium speakers I had, one of my whales. And he did a fantastic job talking about one-to-many presentations. He was just fantastic. And it's just been so great watching Dave grow in his career and his focus and his expertise and just being such a benefit and blessing to so many others.
Yeah. It's interesting. Dave, Dave he possesses some serious skills. I mean, he's a great magician. I've seen him perform magic.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen him speak on stage. Now there's there's a really big difference between speaking on stage to like a keynote speech versus speaking on stage with the intention of offering resources from stage.
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell you, he is absolutely amazing when it comes to speaking on stage and creating a stampede of people to go to the back of the room who wants to invest in what he's offering after hearing what they just had him share. I mean,
yeah.
He has a real gift for that. In fact, he teaches other people how to do that.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. And anybody, then people should flock to him who want to do that. Because he is one of the best, if not the best.
Yeah.
And he's also marvelous at laying it out in a way that people can understand. Many people are almost incomprehensible when they try to teach something, and Dave is not. Dave is extremely thorough, well organized, and he doesn't teach stuff that he doesn't know will work, which I think is really a great credit to him.
Yeah.
He doesn't just come up with, he doesn't spout other people's theories or research. He said, I tried this, I've seen this didn't work, this did. I know for a fact what I'm telling you is true. And that's one of the reasons I respect him so much as a professional and what he does in his business.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. This is so cool. I love every once in a while when I get to the opportunity to do an interview for this podcast where the person like yourself, in this case, Jack, is honoring somebody that I also know so well. It's just really cool.
Fun. Yeah.
And okay, so this is what a testament to the power of relationships. So you and Dave, you met Dave because you were a magician and you saw his article in a trade magazine for that industry. You invested in that, became a real, just really great user of what he taught you. So good that he's like, man, can you help me with some of my stuff and take some of the weight off of me? Because I think you're just as good, maybe even if not better than me at some of this stuff. And so started turning that over to you. And then as things played out and the changing of the guard happened at Dan Kennedy's business, and it became GKIC and then Investor Spot and even Dave's role there with Dan and the whole GKIC, it kind of changed as you shared. And through that, he was like, hey, I know this guy, Jack, and I think we should talk with him and possibly bring him in. And through his endorsement, they were like, well, okay, let's give you a shot. Let's see if you can do this. Let's see if you can write in Dan's voice. And obviously they were like, okay, this is good. He's in. And what I always say is, with the right relationships, when we connect with the right people, it just makes things easy. And you, because of Dave, because of the relationship that you had with him, when he got invited into the Dan Kennedy world, into the GKIC world, and he says, hey, I want to bring Jack in. They were like, well, let's give him a shot. And look at what happened. And then you got brought in to that world as well. And so what has happened in your life since then? And so, you're not holding that role anymore. You're not working with GKIC, exclusively now. what's been going on in your life, in your world for the last 8, 9 years now?
I have I have done a lot of different things that have been all um, part of the growth process. I've tried some different ventures that didn't work so well. Had some partnerships that didn't work, some that did. So I have had a number of clients. So I've had some great. Again, Dave introduced me to a world that I did not know previously existed,
Yeah, yeah,
and brought me in, and I met so many wonderful people.
yeah.
I mean, every dime I make today, and I've said this over and over, every dime I make today is a result of answering that ad in that Magic magazine.
Yeah,
Every
yeah,
single penny I make today
yeah,
is a direct result of that because
yeah.
I made that choice. And because Dave had the guts to actually put himself out there as an expert, which is hard for people.
Sure,
It's hard for anybody.
you bet.
I'm sure it was hard for him to like think he could do this. And he tried it and he had achieved some, and he was fantastic at it. And he had such great material. But every single dime I make is because I I took that action and met Dave, and I'll tell you also, he literally saved my cookies there because at that point in time I was working when I finally left Microsoft in 2006. I was in the flight simulator group, and I was working on, and I was a I'm a I am a top tier technical writer. Okay,
Okay.
I won awards from the Society of Technical Communication for the manuals I wrote for the game Age of Empires and for my flight simulator manual. So
Okay.
I won awards for I'm really good at technical writing. Um, Flight simulator, they shut down that entire division like within 6 months after I left.
Wow.
So I'd have been on the street without a job, almost certainly, had I not left when I did.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So making that choice, taking advantage of all the opportunities Dave provided in terms of training and connections and resources, and of himself, saved my life, saved my opportunity, um, gave me an entirely new skill stack to build upon, and just introduced me a whole new world of opportunity that would have otherwise not existed.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That is really, really powerful right there. And what a testament to the power of relationships.
Hmm.
Well, Jack, for anybody that's listening to this going, man, Kev, I really like Jack. I love the way Jack shows up. How can they find more information on you, on what you're doing? They want to check about any websites, any resources that we can include when we release the podcast here?
Uh, I have been last few years I got involved in doing a toolkit called the Right Killer Copy Fast Toolkit.
Okay.
That is kind of a fun little thing. Teaches people how to write copy quickly because
Uh-huh.
Dave actually told me you write copy faster than anybody else I've ever met. And
Wow.
I'm going to embrace the world's fastest copywriter. And I have embraced that. And I'm pretty fast. I'll acknowledge what happened with ChatGPT. It's hard to beat ChatGPT at like cranking out words.
Uh-huh.
I have learned to leverage it. My background in technical writing, I have software development, etc., make this is a perfect thing for me. So I'm really working hard at embracing ChatGPT, OpenAI,
Okay.
and all that stuff. And I'm working on upgrading my toolkit. But
Okay.
my website's writekillercopyfast.com.
Okay.
If you
Okay.
go there, I promise to update something. I probably have a lead magnet there someplace. If you go writekillercopyfast.com / what is it called? Um, Checklist.
Okay.
Writekillercopyfast.com / checklist. There's you can get my killer copy checklist for free.
Okay.
And it tells
Perfect.
you basically it's a quick and dirty checklist. So before you send out any copy, you can check to make sure it's good.
All
And I
right.
built a bot basically that actually does that. So I built a bot based on that little checklist. But you can get the actual checklist, which is the PDF, at writekillercopyfast.com / checklist.
Okay. Perfect. Perfect. Well, thanks so much for sharing. I really appreciate that. And Jack, I just really appreciate you taking the time to have this conversation today and to share with our folks because I have long known and believed that as entrepreneurs, relationships are the most valuable asset we possess. Everything else stems from that.
Mhm.
And I just really appreciate you coming and sharing some of your experience and just taking the time to honor Dave. And any last thing you feel led to share before we call it a wrap?
I think what I did, my opportunities have all sprung from it's a little thing that Dave lives, and I don't know if he's ever said it explicitly, but I know Dan has, and in terms of success, which is Dan's little simple guide to success is be somebody, be somewhere, do something,
Yes. Yes.
and that simple statement. Dave exemplifies it in a huge way. He is absolutely somebody of great worth and notoriety and value. Be somewhere. He shows up.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
shows up in a big way, offering tremendous value. And do something. He works his tail off. He gives and provides value to his clients and the people he works with and his friends. I mean, so be somebody, be somewhere, do something. I mean, Dave lives it, exemplifies it. I think it's a great model.
I love that. I love that. Well, once again, Jack, thank you so much for taking the time to have this conversation today. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate you. And I am just totally stoked to get this out there and share it with a lot of other entrepreneurs. So thanks so much.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.